Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode. My name is Dana Mantilia, and I have Tim Golden with me today. Hello, Tim. How are you?
Hey, Dana, thank you so much for having me. I am doing, fabulous. It's Friday. It's beautiful. It's summer. What could you ask for more? I mean, heck, summer's in New England when the heat dies down and it gets that nice 70. I mean, what more
Yes,
could you ask for?
absolutely. Why don't you take a minute and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So, obviously, I'm Tim Golden. I'm the CEO of ComplianceRisk.io. Compliance Risk is a compliance based consulting company specifically geared towards managed service providers and IT service providers. We have a sister company, Vital Tech, that is a managed service provider. And what we've noticed in this space is that there are a lot of MSPs, managed service providers, that struggle to understand compliance. And so we built out sort of a couple of different pieces around peer groups and the ability for us to teach you to fish, right? Taking that kind of model in place, helping those MSPs learn and grow and understand compliance. What sprung out of that is a lot of these MSPs either don't have the bench strength or don't have the in-house knowledge or just don't have the time to be able to manage a compliance program for one of their clients. So we introduced compliance as a service, where we work alongside the MSP as part of the three-legged stool to help their clients with their compliance management. And lastly, we recognize that there's a big process problem in the industry around policy management. And we are in the process of, and we'll be ready to launch Polygon, where we are shaping the future of policy management going forward. So thank you for the plug.
That is fantastic, because there are a lot of MSPs that they either don't want to get involved in all that compliance stuff that you're talking about, or they're not really sure how to. So if they could team up with your company, that sounds like that would be very helpful to them.
Yeah, partnerships are key, right? Not everybody is an expert in everything. Like, can I wire my house? Absolutely. But nope, I'm going to hire an electrician because I've been shocked too many times.
Right, right. And I would love to see what you've done, because you do a very good job of talking to people in language that they can understand. I'm sure you're an extremely technical person, but you do a very good job of, even some of your LinkedIn posts are just they're in language that everybody can understand, and that's a very important part. So I'm sure that plays over with
It's
your.
funny that you mentioned that, because literally this morning, as I was lying there having my coffee, kind of thinking through things, and I was like, analogies are stories, obviously, but those stories need to relate to the audience, right? And I love being able to take the 17 plus years of policy and compliance management and give that to the next generation in a language that they can understand.
Well, you're off to a good start here. All right, so today we're going to talk about the importance of policy process management. So
Okay.
our first question is going to be, what is compliance and why should I care? This is what most people probably think.
Yeah, this is a great question. We get this kind of a lot, right? And, compliance in its most basic, purest form is there are laws and regulations and things that we as a business need to adhere to, right? I kind of liken it to like taxes. Everybody needs to pay their taxes, and there are laws governing city, state, and local and federal, and all the there's laws governing that. Well, in compliance, for example, there's things like HIPAA, the Healthcare Privacy Protection Act. I always try to quantify acronyms for those listening. There are things like DFARS, or the defense regulations around companies working in the defense industry. And there are things like CMMC that we're all talking about, right? The Cybersecurity Maturity Model, which is a program for defense contractors to become compliant. But why should we care about what compliance is and what these things mean to us? There's actually quite a few things that have been bubbling to the surface for the last couple of months and probably last several years. We'll take CMMC, for example, right? Defense contractors. They need to adhere to NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technologies, 800-171. What is that? That is a list of items, controls that we, GRC, our governance, risk, and compliance, GRC people like to talk about. Basically, in a nutshell, it says, do you do this thing and prove it, basically. And there's 110 in the NIST 800-171. And so what would happen in the event of these defense contractors is if they don't meet this compliance framework, they're most likely not going to be eligible to receive government contracts. That's kind of a big deal if you're a government contractor and you're not compliant and you can't bid on work. Yeah, that's kind of a problem. So why should you care? There are things that govern the work that you do. And if you don't stay in line and move that needle to become compliant in those things, you might not get the work. But really, it's all about cyber hygiene, right? For me, it's about cyber hygiene. Continuing to improve your cyber hygiene to protect yourself and your clients' data and the work that you do. Mm-hmm. Why should I care? Well, you probably will lose money and you'll probably get hacked.
Yep.
To put it bluntly.
Yep. Nope. That spells it out. It spells it out. And we do have to care too, especially the government contractors. A lot of this information is for the sake of protecting our country. So I think that it's a little patriotic thing to throw in there, but I do think that there has to be that element too, which we all do care. That's why we have to take it more seriously. But anyway, okay. Well, here, this is another one. Compliance doesn't apply to us.
Yeah, it doesn't. We hear this a lot from our healthcare clients, for example. HIPAA, don't matter to me. Like, I'll just have my insurance company pay for some kind of thing or whatever. Like, yeah, that is changing. Like, a lot of the objections we see around doesn't apply, or insurance will take care of it, or it's too expensive. Like, all these kind of objections that we see in this compliance stuff. Yeah, it kind of does apply. Take, for example, like we just talked about, CMMC. You're not compliant, you're not getting contracts. Take HIPAA or any of these other frameworks. California privacy protection. If you do business in California, you better be making sure you're keeping track of that privacy data and have ways to deal with it, because you can get sued, right? Not only that, and here's really what the driving force is right now. While we look at the government, at CMMC, and these things that are coming out, the Center for Internet Security, CISA, all these cool things that are coming out, really, the insurance companies are starting to dictate that. How many of you have filled out a security questionnaire for an insurance company this year? I, for my clients, have probably done a couple hundred so far for this year. And there's themes amongst all the different carriers, and those themes are around, do you have a incident response plan? Do you have a password policy? Do you provide security training and have a security training policy? Like, the insurance companies are wising up and they're asking these questions to the small businesses, to Johnny's lug nut factory that has 3 people, right? And you're going to get denied insurance, or your premiums are going to be so high because you don't have people, process, and then the technology to adhere to these different things that the insurance industry is really starting to dictate now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and cyber liability insurance, like you said, the prices are just going up, and some people can't even get policies because if you're not doing certain things or have multi-factor authentication, all those little things you had just mentioned, you can't even, get a policy. So the idea of just, think about it. We don't care if we leave the stove on, because if the house burns down, the insurance is going to cover it. We can't live like that. And that's the attitude that we have to take, is that, okay, no, even though if the house does burn down, we still need to turn the stove off. We can't be,
Exactly.
leaving fires all over the house kind of thing. So.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. Again, back to our analogy tie in there. I love that. Like, yeah, it's not just about sucking the money out of my company. It's about making sure that you have good cyber hygiene, and that in the event something comes up, you have defensibility in your business, right? Just like in your home, you have smoke detectors and fire extinguishers, and you turn it, like, you have those defensibilities, so you can go to the insurance company and be like, I have sprinklers and I have smoke detectors, but the house still burnt down. In your business, in cyber liability, and even E&O and general liability, you do these things so that you build that defensibility in your business.
Mm-hmm. And I always talk about how, when we were kids, everybody knew every single year exactly what to do if there was a fire drill. right?
Yeah.
No question. And then we all say to ourselves now, if something happened at your company, maybe a potential cyber something, would your employees know what to do? Or I think most places it would be like the Wild West. Everybody would just be doing what they thought they should be doing. And that's very dangerous.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. There's a local veterinary clinic here that, fell ransomware. Long story short is they didn't know what to do. They didn't know even who the first person is they should call. Like all their machines locked down, couldn't do a single thing. Basically, they had electricity in the building and that was about it. And they actually had to go to like pen and paper and telephone to be able to help those poor and sick, puppies and kittens. Like, right? And so this is why, compliance, it does apply, because compliance ultimately proves the security that you're putting in place, the people, the process, and the technology. It helps prove that defensibility, those safeguards, that smoke detector in your business.
For over 20 years, Daymark Solutions has been providing best-in-class infrastructure and data protection solutions. An exciting new area of expertise is working with the defense industrial base to navigate and simplify the complexity of CMMC. Daymark is on an exclusive list of organizations approved to provide and implement Microsoft Commercial Cloud and Government Cloud solutions. The best part about Daymark is what their clients have to say about them. 5-star Google reviews and A+ testimonials. So many satisfied clients have chosen Daymark, and you should too.
And it's also just good business practice. I mean, if we're protecting our customers' data, they're not going to be too happy if it gets out there. So,
yeah, the interesting part I always find is they have no problem hiring a CPA or a tax consultant or a lawyer or even a plumber for that matter. They have no problem. Okay, here's the check, do the work. When it comes to this digital stuff and this cyber stuff and this computer stuff, they're like, oh, I'll just get it at Best Buy. Oh, I'll just, ignore it and maybe it'll go away. And so us as professionals like yourself, like us in this space, it makes it a real big challenge for us to communicate to them like we are the professionals. You hire the electrician to wire your house. You get the fireman to put the fire out. You bring the compliance experts like yourself, Dana, and us at Compliance Risk to guide you through that process.
Yep, absolutely. Next question just popped up. Okay, so where do we start? This is some people, they have no idea. This is a very, very good question.
Yeah, I love this one because everybody's like, where do we start? It's overwhelming.
Yep.
All right. In compliance, there's these things called risk management frameworks, RMF. We mentioned a few, 800-171, HIPAA. There are these frameworks that can help you and your business and the MSP follow a path to begin to build that defensibility, right? So pick a framework. All right, if you're a defense contractor, you're probably going to pick 800-171. If you're a general business, you might pick CIA or the Center for Information Security. You're going to pick maybe their framework. And this is where your MSP and where both Dana and myself can help you understand which framework do we start and how do we get there. Great. So now that we have a standard that we're going to adhere to, what do we do? You should probably start writing things down, right? How do you set passwords? How do you train people on string? Like, I bet in your HR process, you have an employee handbook. When you hire that employee, you have a process that employee goes through to get payroll, to get HR benefits, to get all that. Like, you have that. And that stuff is written down somewhere in your business, right? Employee handbooks, right? Great way of like taking the same concept in your business that you're already doing and applying it to cyber.
Mm-hmm. And when you say it like that, people can understand what you're talking about. That makes complete sense. I mean, an acceptable use policy agreement with your employees. So what are you allowed to do with your work device, your home device? What are you allowed to do on your home device with work? What are you allowed to do, post on social media? I mean, all that stuff is, same thing that you'd want them to, they can't be screaming outside the building, profanities about the business. Same thing you would want posting things, and same thing with, you can't, what devices are they using? What networks are they on? That kind of thing that they may not even have thought of. But once you sit down and just go through that policy agreement real quickly, doesn't take a long time, then they know. And then, oh, okay, I didn't even think about that, which I think that's the problem most times.
It starts with your people. And in order to educate your people, you kind of need to have something written down, a policy written down that says, this is what we do. This is how we do it. And also the why that we do it. Right. And so a lot of companies may even have some of these things. In fact, MSPs might have gone and bought some templates or downloaded something off the SANS Institute and found a document that says, we have an acceptable use policy. Great. You copy, replace company name, but that policy doesn't actually dictate what the business is actually. It doesn't fit the culture. It doesn't fit the business model. It's just some random thing you grabbed off the internet and it had the title of acceptable use policy. No, that is not a true policy management program, right? You do this for your HR. You have a sexual harassment policy. You have a 401k policy. You have these things in your business already. You're going to take the same methodology that you're applying to other areas, but you're going to do it specifically in the cyber realm. And you're going to write it so it matches your culture, right? You're not just going to grab some template and be like, oh, I'm done. Yeah, no. And insurance companies and auditors and assessors are keen to these templates. They know about them. They download them themselves so that they can look at, yeah, you know what? I'm the insurance adjuster. I'm trying to write a policy. I look at your incident response plan and I'm like, yeah, you just grab that off SANS Institute and copy, replace company name. Not going to fly.
Yep, exactly.
How do we start? Where do we start? Pick a framework. Start writing things down. There's roughly 10 or 12 kind of policies as a baseline that most organizations should have. There's some standardized things in those policies that both Dina and myself can help you with, can help your MSP with, can help your client with. Yeah, there are some templated pieces, sure, because these are a structured document to match a structured compliance framework. But we're going to help, and we can help sort of write them first. But it's not just the writing of the policy. And I think our next question is kind of going to get to that whole process.
Yes. So what does a solid policy program entail?
Yes. Right now, the industry just goes and grabs a Word document, copy pasta, and calls it done. No. Right? Yeah. So you take your document, you iterate through it. It's got version control. It's got, last update. It's got some standardized things in this that says this is what it does. This is who it applies to. This is the scope in which it belongs to. And then once these documents are created, you need buy-in from an executive level or a C-level, somebody at the company that has authorizing official to sign off that this is what we do, right? When you think about a 401k plan, like the HR person doesn't just write that and be like, here you go. No, she presents that to the board. The board goes through their iterative process and they come back and they say, no, this is what we do. So the second step beyond just creation is getting that executive level buy-in. In fact, the SEC and other organizations are now actually holding board members or other C-level executives accountable for the things within their business. So step 2, getting that policy authorized within the organization. Step 3, adoption. You kind of need to train the people on what the thing is. They kind of need to know what they're adhering to, because if they don't know, plausible deniability, well, that doesn't really count in this case, because if I click on a phishing email because I wasn't trained, wow, I know I talk really fast, and I'm doing that kind of on purpose. And the fourth and final piece is what we like to call alignment or review cadence. This thing should be looked at more than once every 10 years. It probably should be looked at quarterly or at least annually, right? You have an incident, you have a disaster recovery plan, and you write in there, we do disaster recovery testing every month, but we actually don't have an alert system to tell us we need to do it. We don't have a reminder that says, hey, you haven't done it. There's not a tool or a piece of the process that helps me remember, oh, I got to go test my backups. So in a nutshell, what does a solid program look like? Number one, alignment to a framework and corporate culture. Authorization. Somebody signing off. Somebody with the powers that be signing off. Adoption. Teach the people on what it is and help them adhere to it. And then review cadence. Put it on a schedule. Be alerted, be notified, so that you can review these things in your time. If you have a policy program like that in place, don't quote me, but you could probably get lower insurance rates.
Mm-hmm.
You're definitely going to be able to prove to an auditor that you're doing your diligence, you're building your defensibility, and I have the documentation and a process to prove that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so when I'm going to ask you, that's the end of our questions. When is your app going to be?
So we are actively development in beta testing now. Our goal is to launch at a big network conference in November, probably before that, in November at IT Nation. It is a big conference for MSPs in ConnectWise space, and we are part of this thing called Pitch It. If you follow us on LinkedIn at compliancerisk.io, you will see that Pitch It is like Shark Tanks for companies like us. And so we would love your support. Literally just this morning, the event came out. We would love for you to register. We're going to battle it out in the next coming weeks. I'm going to go up against all of our other Pitch It contestants. So I want your love, your support, your connection to come in and vote for me. Sorry, shameless plug. But yes.
No, that's very cool. Very cool.
Before November, we will have a product on the market. We already have the peer group, and we already have compliance as a service, and our app, Polygon, will be available in the coming weeks.
That's fantastic. Wow, you got a lot going on there, that's for sure.
Yeah, empty nest, except for you can hear the dog barking in the background.
Well, thank you for your time with all this. This was great. And maybe we could do another one where we could talk more about incident response, because that's something that needs a little bit more attention.
Yeah, IR is fun. No, thank you so much for the opportunity here. For me, it's my goal in life is to take the 17 years of governance, risk, and compliance in my brain and in my team's brain. It's not just Tim. There is no I in team, but there is in Tim. And take that knowledge that we've gained and give it to the next generation so I don't have to, and hopefully get paid along the way. And opportunities like this to be able to share that knowledge and educate our community is what's key and vital, vital to me and vital to us. So thank you so much for having us on here today. Thank you so much for this opportunity to bring forth, this very important piece of small businesses.
Well, thank you for your time. We appreciate it very much.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Stay tuned until next time.
Like, share, click all the buttons.
Yeah. Bye-bye.